Now, the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show continues on Charleston's Big Talker, 1250 WTMA.
Welcome back as the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show continues here on the Big Talker, 1250 WTMA and WTMA.com. Of course, I'm your host, Brian Beatty, and we were just talking about some takeaways that I had from a real estate conference I attended with some of the other agents that represent some of the top agents in the nation. And I was really talking about the overall experience in working with a highly experienced agent and what is kind of changing in our industry right now. And so if you missed some of that, then you can go to charlestonrealestateradio.com where you can listen to previous versions of the show, over 6 years of shows on charlestonrealestateradio.com. Or, of course, you can find us on iTunes and Spotify and Google Play and iHeartRadio and all the other streaming devices. Just look for the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show. And again, if you want to reach out to me, if you're thinking about selling, you have questions about the process, you want to know what your home is worth, you're thinking about buying a property, you're not really pressured, but if the right thing came along, yeah, you'd consider a move. Well, let me know. We got all kinds of people that are in different stages of the process, literally thousands and thousands of them. And over the past 2 years, we have over almost 30 times somebody has come to us and said, hey, we would buy a place if we found the right property, which then prompts us to go out and find sellers that would be willing to sell if we brought them a buyer. They don't want to have their home on the market. They don't really want to be subjected to all the showings and the marketing and so on and so forth. But if we brought them a buyer and it's a fair price, yeah, they'll sell it. We've done that almost 30 times in the past 2 years. So when you work with an agent that has a big database, they can give you those kinds of opportunities. And so what I want to talk about over the course of the next maybe 10, 15 minutes or so are first-time home sellers. And there's a lot that I'm not going to be able to cover here because this is a very education-intensive meeting with that seller. And so let me just start by saying, if you're thinking about this process, if it's your first time selling, or if you just want to buy or sell, you want to learn more about that process in the market, give me a call. It's easier to just do this over the phone. No cost, no obligation. I'm happy to just walk you through what you need to know. My number is 843-345-1273. 843-345-1273. Or you can go to my website, listingsincharleston.com. That's listingsincharleston.com. So first-time home sellers, they don't generally think about, filling the shoes of a first-time home seller until they decide that they're going to buy a new house. And usually the motivating factor is the need to move. They've got some sort of, work-related opportunity, or they've got a growing family, or generally involves buying another house. There are all these different reasons that I could cite, but you kind of get the point. It very rarely do people choose to sell their home and buy a new one just for the sake of making a change. They do it because that change is prompted by something. And it's when the homeowners kind of stop to consider the move that it may then dawn on them, because they need to sell, they're now a first-time home seller and they need some help. And so selling a house is very different from buying a house. Buying a home is generally very emotional. It involves a lot of emotions and a lot of feelings, where selling a home typically centers around what the listing agent is going to do to help you maximize your profit potential. It's all about your net. How much money can you make on this sale, and how much will you have left over after commission and closing costs, and you pay off your mortgage to then apply it to your new scenario. So I want to just give you guys a few tips on this process if you're thinking about selling your house, and this really applies to anybody selling their house. But the first tip, and one of the reasons why we've had such a successful year so far, is because we're pricing our homes accurately. Our market, and frankly, it doesn't even really make sense to talk about the market in general, because our market is all over the place. And, in some of the talks with some of the other agents that are selling a few hundred homes a year in different areas of the country, we don't even ask our other agents, hey, how's the market? Because it's to us, it's a little bit of a silly question, because we dissect it too much. Charleston, as an example, if you're trying to ask me about the market, how do I know that you don't live in, historic downtown Charleston versus, a first-time condo in Somerville? Just two totally different markets. And so it's really challenging to just apply an overall state of the market on this show, but I will say that in general, kind of going against my rule here, but in general, the market's flat. Up to a few $100,000, the first-time homebuyer price range, yeah, it's still hot. We're still selling them very quickly, multiple offers, more than we're asking. It's still a great market. The move-up market, the homes that people are going to buy when they sell their first home, assuming that they're buying something more expensive, that market is it's not necessarily it's not like it's hit the bottom. It's not like there's no activity. It's just a normal market. There's no upward or downward pressure on pricing. There's no oversupply or undersupply of homes per se. It kind of depends on the area, but it's just a normal market. It's the status quo market. It's when you start to get into the higher price ranges is when things get a little more challenging. More properties are on the market. They're sitting on the market longer. We'll get into that in a little bit, but the reason why we're being successful this year is because we're spending a lot of time up front and helping people understand what's going on in their specific section of the market. So you need to be speaking with somebody that can speak about that intelligently. Not to just say, here are 6 homes that have sold in your neighborhood over the past 6 months, and here's the average price per square foot, and here's on average how long they took to sell. At face value, that's somewhat useful information, but when you really start to dissect it and you start to look at things like the pricing history of these homes and how long it took for them to sell, and were any incentives offered or given to the buyer, you start to see the trend. And the trend right now is that the properties that are hitting the market are exceeding the number of homes that are selling in some areas. And so the difference between the original asking price and the ultimate sales price is getting wider. That's of concern. We're going to talk more about that later as well. But you need to be able to sit down with your agent and go through each property, analyze them in detail, make adjustments for what that home has that your home doesn't have, and what's the approximate value of that to a potential buyer. How soon do you want to sell? What's your goal? If your goal is to sell quickly, then your price is certainly a reflection of that. Your price, by the way, is also a reflection of whether you're okay with it taking more time than is usual for you to sell your home, so long as you get the price. I mean, I always tell sellers that, hey, look, my homes sell on average in 19 days and for 98.5% of asking price. And that's averaged out over hundreds and hundreds of sales. We've done over 1,000 in Charleston. But not everybody wants to sell their home in 19 days. It's a cool stat to say, but it's not relevant to everybody. So the first step is to price your home accurately based on your goal, whatever it is you are trying to accomplish. Now, if you want to sell your home and buy another, and you're going to make that offer contingent upon your home selling, believe me, because I'm the listing agent for our team. I have other listing agents, of course, but when somebody brings me an offer on one of my listings and it's contingent upon that buyer's home selling, what do you think the first thing I'm going to do is? I'm going to find out, okay, is that home on the market or not? Is it under contract or not? If it's just on the market, how long has it been on the market? Have they made any price reductions? Is that price a realistic price for that home to give us the assurance that that home is actually going to sell? Because what's the fear? What's the fear of sellers? The fear is, I'm going to accept a contract on my house and I'm going to be locked into that contract for months. I'm just going to be sitting around, especially if I put it on the market this time of year. I'm going to miss the hot market. The person that wants too much money for their house isn't going to be able to sell it, and then I have to start over in theoretically a less attractive market. But if you price your home correctly and you sell, it then gives you the ability to buy the home you want to buy, which more than likely was the reason why you started this whole process anyways. You found something exciting enough to move into. So tip number one is to just price your home appropriately, and I could go into that for probably an hour in and of itself. But number two is you have to insist on the best marketing plan. It's too easy these days for agents to just put a sign in the yard, put it on the MLS, do an open house, post it to their business Facebook page, and then wait for other agents to show it. And then they help you negotiate a contract, and then they get you to closing. Over the past several years, it's been a seller's market, which means that homes were in higher demand than they were when it was a buyer's market. They sold faster. And as a result, the listing agent's job got easier, which is why so many are have been flocking into real estate schools over the past several years, which is also why we're the second most saturated real estate market in the country. Problem is, it's not as easy as it looks. Not if you want to sell a home for top dollar and offer incredible customer service throughout the entirety of the transaction and be available to you and communicate well and have the tools and systems and support and marketing plan necessary to give you the best chance possible to sell your home to the highest bidder. Several years ago, even obviously last year, not so much this year, to be honest with you, not so much this year, but over the past several years, by the time the sign was in the yard and we finished our pre-marketing, all the things that we do behind the scenes to generate interest on our listings before it even enters the MLS, all those things that we're doing that frankly don't count against you as it relates to days on market, which sellers really like. We were finding the buyer before it even hit the market. Obviously, you have to be visible in order to find those buyers, and so that's a function of the marketing. But as a seller, you need to insist on the best marketing plan. You need to be looking for those red flags that are the signs of an agent that hasn't really invested a lot into his service or her service and the value proposition that they offer. Yes, there's a lot to be said for experience. Yes, there's a lot to be said for tenacity and their hunger and their communication skills. But at the end of the day, you need to find the person that has those things because those are requirements in order to work with you. And they have a marketing platform that is not just designed to spread a marketing net as wide as possible, but to also spread that net as quickly as possible through the use of leverage and other people. There's only so much that one agent can do for you. And some people like just working with one person throughout the transaction. I have found that I can do more for my clients by leveraging myself and being really specific with what I do on a daily basis. If somebody hires me to sell their house, I'm available to that person. I'm not also running around and showing properties and managing paperwork and the back office stuff. I'm the listing agent. I market it. I have discussions with other agents and buyers. I help you negotiate your contracts. I make sure that the people that are going through the house are supposed to be there and they have the ability to buy it. And then we get the deal done. Truth be told, aside from running my business and working with my sellers and doing this radio program, I mean, that's about the gist of what I do, but it's done at a super high level because other people have taken over the other parts of the business, and they do it extremely well. So insist on the best marketing plan. Aside from that, there are two more things that I want to talk about, and then we're going to take a break. And the third thing that I would say is that make sure that the agent understands why you're selling and what that will accomplish for you and your family, and make sure that their goals align with yours. So ask them about things that they do to make their clients feel special. If it's all about them, if it's all about the agent, they're not asking you any questions, and they don't really seem to be concerned about anything but the commission and the sale and the transaction, then that's the same way it's going to be once you hire them. From a realtor's perspective in our industry, there are two types of people. There's a client for life, and then there's just a transaction. I'd like to assume that everybody's going to be a client for life. That's how I treat everybody. That's how agents should treat everybody. That's how my business has grown the way it has, is because I get referrals from past clients because I do a good job for people. But when people go in there and it's just, the smoke and mirrors or the dog and pony show, and it's just, here's what we do, and we do this, and it's just feature. They haven't taken any time to understand your goals and why you're doing this process and what you expect out of that agent and how you want that relationship to work. Because all of those are customer service related issues and results based issues, of course. And then the last thing that I would say is that trust but verify. There are so many people in this town that, I already know an agent, or I'm going to work with my brother's friend's uncle. He's got his real estate license. It's okay to trust people, and it's okay to ask for those referrals, but verify. Trust but verify. Ask for references. look at their listings online. Look at their marketing materials. Obviously, ask for their past sales. Have them print them out for you. Make sure their name is on it. Just make sure that they did everything that they said they were going to do for their previous clients. And I'm not saying that, hey, just if you're using that approach, then that would filter out new agents. We were all new agents at one point in time. We all asked for an opportunity and were given it and succeeded at it. And so if you feel like being the person that wants to give that new agent the shot, then good for you. Maybe they have what it takes to get it done for you at a really high level. Maybe they don't. I don't know. But that's why you're going to trust but verify. All right, so when we come back from the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show, I want to talk about a little bit more about the market in general, why I think now should be a good time to sell if you don't have to, but you want to. And I'm going to explain more about what that means as the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show continues here on the Big Talker, 1250 WTMA and WTMA.com. And don't forget, if you want to reach out to me and just have a private conversation about the process of buying or selling or investing in real estate, you're thinking about making a move and you'd like some help, I can be reached at 843-345-1273. Again, that's 843-345-1273, or go to my website, listingsincharleston.com. Stick around. We'll be right back with more of the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show on the Big Talker, 1250 WTMA.
Find Brian Beatty online at listingsincharleston.com. The Brian Beatty Real Estate Show continues next on the Big Talker, 1250 WTMA.